I know quite a few of you here, but my name is Joel McCracken. I represent District 3 on the school board here for RE1 Valley. Lived in the community for quite some time, and so kind of got involved a little bit through the school board in a lot of this work here. So do you want me to go deep into, or will we just do a quick introduction to it? Just quick, okay. Yeah. You'll get to listen to me a little bit more here. You know, lucky you guys. So I'll introduce myself even again. Okay.
And I'm David Kurtz. I'm an architect with the Neenan Company, and been helping the school district with master planning for things that need to happen to all the facilities, and helping organize this event and other events leading up to this.
What David was too shy to say is he actually did the drawings for the renovations that's here as well. So we've been out here in RE1 Valley for decades, really decades. Yeah, for sure. Good evening, and thank you again for coming. I'm Leah Lampkin. I'm Business Development Manager, and what I really like to say is that I'm School Development Manager. What I do is help identify grants, help schools with this exact type of engagement, community engagement meetings. We've done this for over 20 years across Colorado, and we care deeply about all of the schools that we help, and RE1 is no exception. The goals tonight, I'm actually going to have Tim introduce himself, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the goals for tonight.
Good evening. My name is Tim Stern. I'm not an architect with Neenan. I do pre-construction, so David and I work hand in hand. He comes up with designs, and I budget them and make sure we're heading towards an owner's budget, and been working on schools for probably, I think the first one I worked on was 2010, Monte Vista High School with David as the architect. So, and working together since then.
Thanks, Tim. So it's really simple tonight. It's threefold. We were going to give information. We're going to gain your feedback, and then we're going to grasp additional things that we want to be added to become more clear as we go through this. So we're going to give, gain, and grasp. To give you information on the work up to date, to gain input from you, and to answer any questions that you have. And we'll begin.
Okay, well, again, Joel McCracken. I am going to introduce a couple of people sitting in the audience here. I just don't want to be introduced, but we do have a couple of school board members here tonight. I hope I don't miss everybody, but Board President Steve Shin right here, and Board Vice President Rhonda Monheisman. We also have a facility committee that has been put together to help with a lot of this planning. And so I know that there's a couple of facility committee members. If you are here, could you please stand for me, please? So Mark Applehunts, Shannon Holloway, and Brenda Cloverdance. So when we get to the end of this thing tonight, we'll kind of do like a large group question and answer session. Sometimes you don't want to ask your questions in the large group, so then we'll adjourn and just kind of have some one-on-one time. If you see a facilities committee member, you know, use them, maybe not to ask a lot of questions, but to voice your concerns. You know, give them ideas. That's what we're here for tonight, to try to create a dialogue, conversation, because we want to hear your ideas. You're going to hear a lot of my ideas and a lot of what we put together here tonight, but we want to hear your ideas too. So, so thank you for being here, to give you. So, and Steve and Rhonda, thank you. Why are we doing this? So, you love your school district. I do. That's why I want to do this. So again, I'll kind of give you a little bit of background. I've been here. I graduated in 1998 from Colorado State University, and my wife, Justina, teaches at the college here. So if anybody's had a kid go through biology over at the college, I'm sure you had my wife as the teacher. So we moved here in 1998, and we've had 3 kids go through this district. 2 of them have graduated. I still have 1 in high school. And this community and this district has been awesome for them. I couldn't be more proud of the people they've become. And that's not just because of how my wife raised them, but it's the community here, you know, the friends they grew up with, the teachers they had. So that's why we're doing this. So you can kind of look around and see that we have a lot of aging facilities. I mean, that's no argument there, right? So what are some of your largest, or what's a better word? Kind of a marketing hub or a central community hub, more than your school district? There isn't one. So if you're on the city council and you want to, recruit some new doctors to town, or if you want to recruit some new engineers to town or a lawyer to town, what's the first place they're gonna take their kids? Right to the schools. They're gonna tour the schools. And so the first thing you want to do is create a little curb appeal, right? Market yourself. So those aging facilities they see, that's the first impression they're gonna get of your community. So that's why we're doing this. We need to upgrade facilities here. And we'll kind of get further, deeper into this conversation, and you'll see that this is kind of a twofold conversation. We have a best grant project, plus the second part of the conversation being, hey, maybe we want to expand, some ideas and add to the scope of work of this entire project. So we'll kind of get into that as we go here. So how we got here? You want to take this one?
Sure.
Okay. How we got here, I'll let David kind of explain this.
So quite a few years ago, we started working with the school district. This was about 2018, 2019. Looking at just general facilities, what's the state of the facilities to say, what are the basic things we need to do as a school district to make sure we're keeping our buildings and facilities for the long term. So we started a master plan. Of course, COVID disrupted most everything, and this wasn't an exception. There was a pause there for a while until we got back into re-engaging and re-looking at this, the whole school facilities across the board. So what I'm going to go through is show you very quickly what the school district and we helped kind of coordinate for this master plan where we reviewed facilities. The master plan is a document that evaluates every facility and then kind of leads you through a evaluation of what needs to be done, what should happen, and at the end of it, a recommendation of what we should do next. So when Joel mentioned this best application for a grant, that was the result of going through this master plan, saying, hey, we got this certain amount of work we want to do. Let's find some state grant money to help us do this work. So I'm going to show you what the master plan is. And this is a document that is available on the school website, the district website. I'm going to show you a couple of highlight pages from this. So this is by no means the whole thing. This is a document where we go through, we look at general information about the district, enrollment, statistics, what's been happening over the years, what we can project into the future from historical enrollment, and then into a deep dive with the staff of the school and along with student enrollment, what are the actual courses that need to be taught and what are the spaces required to teach those. So basically verifying that the space you have is adequate for what the staff is trying to teach. And then along with that, looking at each school facility as a building, as a structure that needs to stand for the next 50 years, and what are the biggest issues with the buildings that need to be addressed. So we have one of these diagrams for each of the facilities showing the major items, and they're major as in safety and security items, what's required for educational suitability, and what is a high dollar maintenance thing that, basically the district is having to pour money into, that if it could just be fixed, we wouldn't have to put annual money into these things. So identifying the issues was a big part of this master plan. This, of course, nobody's gonna be able to read this from the screen, but it basically is a list of each school, and the staff, the admin staff helped prioritize all those issues and say, these are the most important ones. These are important, but maybe it's not like something we need to do right away. So we prioritized all the issues of the school and then moved forward with the plan, looking at long-term, okay, if we need to address all these issues, what are some ideas for what's going to happen in the next 20 years, 30 years, to where we need to find out, should we invest money in all the schools equally? Should we invest money in some schools more than others? Is there a long-term plan? So a variety of those potential future plans are in this master plan document. From looking at those and the high priority issues, we then have documentation of what are the solutions to address those issues.
for each of the buildings. And then putting together the budgets of, okay, if we take the first phase of work, those are the highest priority things, second phase of work, third phase of work. This is maybe in 5 to 10 years, we do the second phase, maybe in 10 to 20 years, we do the third phase. So trying to line out the work that needs to happen eventually, so the school has a plan for how to maintain these facilities. This then is a chart showing each of the schools, first phase, second phase, third phase, all these years of work that needs to happen. What do we need to do first? What do we need to do in the future as a total of everything? So again, all of this is recorded, and by the end of the master plan document, there is a determination of, okay, the first phase of work should at least be this amount of work. And we identified a few things on this list here, but what you're going to see is when we started developing this information for a grant application for the state to help out the school district, that we detailed out what the amount of work and what the amount of dollars is per school on those. So this is just an overview, and that's basically what the master plan document does too. So if you're interested in any of the detail about how the school got to some of the nuts and bolts of why these are the basic things that the district would like to do to with their district or with their facilities, that's the document where you can look for those.
There is a hard copy here tonight if anyone wants to see this, but this is accessible on the website. So, yep.
So what we'll talk about in a little more detail is what is that first phase of work, and what did we as a district go to the state for some grant money for?
Okay, so I will talk a little bit about the actual proposed BEST 2025 project. So we'll go through each building. One of the things that is very important to this board is transparency, because we're coming to the community asking for money, right? With a bond, we're asking you guys for money. So we want to make sure we go through every building and we lay out exactly line by line what's going into this project. So we will go through the 6 buildings. I'll kind of do a quick, overview, and then we'll just kind of go through some of these line by line. So starting over at Hagen, okay, you'll notice on all of these in this BEST grant project that it's focused around the safety and security elements. Well, what is that? What is safety and security? Entryway security, air quality, new HVAC systems, ag shop upgrades, a lot of those parking lot improvements, lighting in your parking lots. A lot of those can be considered part of safety and security. So why is this focused only on safety and security? There's lots of other work out there that needs to be done, right? Well, speaking with the CEE and a representative from the CEE, when you go after a BEST grant, your chances of getting that grant go up exponentially if you focus your project on safety and security. They don't really love awarding that grant for a new football field or maybe for a new playground. But if you focus your attention to the safety and security elements, then you have a much better chance to get that money. So that's what this project is focused on. So starting over at Hagen, this is where our preschool and our administrative offices are. We'll go through the scope of work here a little bit. These first couple, there's a slide after this that we'll get into kind of more detail on the actual building itself. But a lot of entry security reconfigurations for the administration, some interior security doors, some reconfiguration of the entry for the preschool as well. We'll do some drop off and some site circulation improvements, replace some exterior doors, and then remove some of these old modulars. So raised crosswalks, update striping and signage. I know if any of you have had some young ones and you've dropped them off over here, sometimes this drop off here can be a little bit unsafe. So we're talking about maybe adding some raised crosswalks, updating the striping, adding some signage, reconfigure this courtyard right here in front, which is the entrance into the preschool, new building site signage so you can distinguish what's administration, what's preschool, update the striping and signage in the parking lot. So if anyone's been over there, that parking lot's in terrible shape. But resurfacing the parking lot isn't necessarily something that the BEST grant committee is going to consider. So we left out resurfacing, but then went ahead and added in the striping and signage just because that can be considered a safety element. Removing the modulars, this one can get a little bit tricky because there's a lot of asbestos abatement that goes into that, so that's why that modular's been sitting over there for a long time. But we've got to get rid of that, so that's included. Entry and security upgrades on the interior of the building, we'll go over that in just a second, and replace some exterior doors, frame, and hardware. So over at Hagen, we're estimating a project cost of about $940,000. That's only about 5% of your total cost. Well, why is that? Well, Hagen is one of the buildings that, and I know that David kind of touched on it a little bit, that there's a possibility in the next 5 years, 10 years, that we may reconfigure some of our buildings. We've got no room over at Ayers. We're bursting at the seams at Ayers. Campbell's the same way. We're overpopulated at Campbell. You get up into the middle school, maybe not so much. You get to the high school, there's room all over the place here. One of the things the board has been contemplating, it was just kind of introduced to us here in the last 6 months, but maybe in the next couple of years, we move 7th and 8th grade out of the middle school and move them over to the high school and make this a middle high program over here. That would then allow us to maybe move 3rd, 4th, and 5th over to the middle school. That would then maybe allow us to move some, 1st and 2nd, or 2nd and 3rd, 4th over to Campbell. That might alleviate some of that room issue we have over at Ayers. So one of the things we did at Hagen was, hey, we might not have this building in 5 years. This might be something that the district doesn't own in 5 years. So let's not throw $5-6 million into it. Let's just get the bare bones upgrades here. So that's why over at Hagen, we're only looking at about a 5% of the total cost. Coming into it, this is the safety and security part of the entryways. If any of you have ever been to a board meeting, our board meeting room is over here, but this would add some security doors here to lock down in case of emergencies. This would also reconfigure a lot of the entryway over here at the preschool. We would add a kind of a transaction window here so that the receptionist can actually have a face-to-face interaction with someone coming into the building. Instead of a lot of the buildings you come into right now and you buzz in, right? And the receptionist has no idea. There's no face-to-face interaction there. They're letting you in without actually seeing who you are. So that would add that FaceTime. We would add some doors in here. Obviously, there's going to be some work for, remodeling and renovation work. And then we would, I guess this blue shaded area is really what the reno work is all about. But so really kind of bare bones, but this would definitely upgrade the entryway security, especially for the preschool side of it. Okay, then jumping over to Ayers, main scope of work, main entry security. Again, you'll see that at all the buildings, interior security doors, improved drainage and ice, and then an additional drop-off loop. We can kind of start with that one over here. I think even when my kids went through school over here, the 2nd grade drop-off is kind of crazy. Actually, I think, Shannon, we did it over here on the back side of the building, which was, or maybe that's over here somewhere. But so this would actually add a new 2nd grade drop-off loop, which would definitely make things a little bit safer dropping the kids off. To do that, you'd also add some additional fencing in here. We'd improve some drainage issues we have over here. It seems like we have some ice buildup, some drainage issues around the building. We'd have a detention pond, some improvements here to that, revise some stormwater path, improve that drainage on this side of the building as well, and then add some of the interior security doors. So Ayers is one of our newer buildings, so it is definitely one that has a lot of kids in it, but we're looking at about, just a little over $1 million, $1.3 million going into Ayers. Area of the remodel work, right up here in the front. We would actually add some doors back here too, that goes down into I think this is the 1st and 2nd grade wing of the building. But some additional securities up here with the doors there, and then update some security hardware on these doors back here. So, and a lot of our facility committee meetings, local law enforcement is there. They're there giving us their recommendations. So a lot of these ideas are coming straight from law enforcement. And so, that opinion or that voice is important to us. Campbell, this one gets quite a bit of work. Campbell's one of our older buildings. Again, main entry security reconfiguration, interior security doors. The big thing over here is new HVAC throughout the entire building. I think that's definitely needed if you've ever been over there or had kids there. Replace windows. think the windows from 1950, I think is when those windows were actually, I think they're original windows over there. So replace windows, add some AC into the gym, replace that gym floor. I think those are asbestos tiles right now on that gym floor. Remove some modulars. We got some modulars as well on this, and on this site too, and then add some site fencing. So starting with that site fencing, right now we've got fence coming around the playground on these two sides, but we would actually bring some fence over here along this. I think this would be the east side of the soccer field playgrounds. Install some AC in the gym. That's definitely needed. Remove the asbestos tiles and put new flooring in there. I think, Tim, I saw on your, that it was scheduled for wood floor. Yeah.
Yes.
So it'd be a new wood floor into the gym. Replace those 1950s windows, HVAC in the entire building. That would be great. Remove these modulars. And then we'll get into the security stuff here in just a little bit. Add expansion joint and repair for flooring. So, yeah,
How
go
to
ahead.
clarify, it's the old portion of the building that gets the HVAC.
Oh,
Because
right.
there is a newer portion that is fine.
Right, okay. Yeah,
Just to
thanks.
clarify.
So, and then, we've got some places inside the building where the floor is popping up, and so the expansion joint is just to allow a little bit of movement. So we can kind of alleviate some of that issue. So, but over here at Campbell, we're looking at about $5.3 million. Almost a quarter of the total cost of the work. So I wish I could zoom this in, but I can't. I apologize. It's a little bit tough to see, but they would kind of redo some of the entryway into Campbell. We'd move those front doors back and kind of open up this vestibule area, add an access door here, maybe even a transaction window, but kind of redo some of the waiting area, but adding a security set of doors coming up that hall and the main hall going that way. So these doors can be locked down from someone inside the administrative offices in case of an emergency. So just adding that next level of security. Sterling Middle School, not one of our older buildings, but also not one of the best built buildings that we have. So it does require a little bit of upgrade work. We actually went into the facility committee's meeting, and some of my opinion, or not necessarily mine, I guess, but there were some people thought, well, maybe the middle school is one of the buildings that we don't own in the next 5 to 10 years, but it's such a community center. My daughter's been dancing with Melissa School of Dance for 16 years now, or not that long, 14 years now, and they have their recitals over here. The gym is used by the city of Sterling for adult rec leagues all the time. So honestly, this is really a community center that's heavily used. And so that kind of changed my line of thinking too, that, oh no, yeah, we need to continue to use this building. So, the scope of work, again, we'll get into the entryway, upgrades, but exterior doors replaced, repair windows, add AC to the gym. Right now, no AC in there. And if you've been in a volleyball game there in August, it's incredibly hot. And then add some site fencing that kind of helps enclose the football field area and the playground area. So, estimated total cost here, we're looking almost $2 million. So just about 10% of the work. We would actually do a little bit of reconfiguration on the entryway to the middle school. We enlarge this vestibule here, move the doors back, the secure doors are here. We'd flip the conference room and the reception area so that you could have this face-to-face transaction window here once they're inside that vestibule area. These, the big double glass doors here, this would actually become a conference room then. Add some windows up front here too. I think the actual repair of the windows was not replacing the windows, but more painting and upgrading the frames or repairing frames as needed. So, and same way with the exterior doors. So, and then this site fence, I know if you like to come in and watch Spiffle football games, there are a lot of people parked down here, and so that may be kind of a bummer. Now you're looking through a fence. That's one thing the school district said, hey, no, we don't want a fence, or the school board, I'm sorry, said we don't want a fence down here. But there have been quite a few cases and instances of it's hard to keep an eye on kids, but also having, I know Mr. Skirjanik has said that we've had people walk across, homeless transient walk across, and and start hanging out in the playground area. So it's just another added level of security, to keep the kids safe. Sterling High School, okay, this is gonna get a bunch of work done too. Again, we've got main entry security reconfiguration. Kind of the biggest thing we're looking at over here too is ag shop renovations and the front parking lot. Now, like I said earlier, oh, they don't do parking lots. Well, if it's a major safety concern, it's something that is considered then. So, if you've had high schoolers and you're dropping them off here in the morning, it's an absolute madhouse because it's flipped backwards. You've got your through street with all of your traffic right here, and then you got your parking lot on the other side of it. It actually kind of needs to be flipped so that your drop off is over here, and then the kids can have, safe passageway with crosswalks or wherever they need to go to get into the building. So, a lot of reconfiguration, curb and gutter, sidewalks, lighting, new lights, new parking lot lighting out there, and then obviously new hot mix asphalt resurfacing. So, that's kind of a big one here. The upgrade CTE for safety infrastructure equipment replaces the HVAC system. I'm going to give Whitney, where'd you go, Whitney? Right here. Whitney Reed and Mark Kokash. Whitney's our ag teacher here at Sterling High School, and Mark has been helping her out because Whitney's program is just exploding with kids. What do you got? 121 kids in the program right now. The ag shop needs a serious upgrade. I think what'd you tell me, Mark? You're only supposed to be teaching like 20 kids in that shop at a time or something. I mean, not even safely. So I'm going to give Whitney and Mark a little bit of time here at the end, and they can kind of go over some things in the ag shop. We'll do the same thing next week when we're out at Caliche because they're going to be, having a lot of the same concerns out there as well. So, I'll give you guys a minute here when we're done to kind of go over what's going on in there. New restroom finishes, especially here in Wally Post. I know whenever we go to a game, use the restroom in Wally Post, you think, oh man, it'd be nice if we kind of upgraded and clean these things up. So new restrooms in there, some added security alarms on the exterior doors. Boys locker room at Wally Post. When I was in high school, clear back in the early 90s, that's the same locker room that I was in. It was old then. That was in I graduated high school in 1992 and I was playing basketball in there. And that's the same locker room. I couldn't believe it. So anyway, new locker room upgrades, replace the boilers. That's going to be some HVAC work. We got some second floor west wing work with new flooring throughout, new restroom finishes and fixtures. So a little bit of work upstairs that would be included. So all in all, you're looking at almost $7 million into Sterling High School. So that's a pretty good chunk of the portion. So entryway, for those of you that are familiar with the high school, right now you come in through these two double doors and then you get buzzed inside this vestibule, and then you can come over here to the main office area. What we would do is add some security doors here that could be locked down. So someone comes in, they can at least get some FaceTime at a transaction window here with administration before they have access to the rest of the building. So, and then out of Caliche. Caliche gets quite a bit of work too. Scope of work again, we've got some safety reconfigurations we'll go over. The ag shop upgrades, just like we got here. Got a great program and a great teacher out there too. And so we're looking at doing some upgrades there. Science room upgrades needed bad. Kitchen HVAC work and parking lot paving and lighting. So that's the big green area here, is to resurface and repave, restripe, put new lights in that parking lot out there. We'll kind of get into some of these interior renovations here in a minute, but the ag shop includes new eye wash, shower, hand sinks, dust collection systems, all new HVAC. The kitchen, I think Ronnie, you said that it's incredibly hot when you're cooking out there. New HVAC in the kitchen, really needed. Science room safety equipment, water repair, ventilation work. And then this is all of the kind of the reconfiguration of the parking lot with striping, signage, curb and gutter, sidewalks. 5.1 million. So quite a bit of work going in out there too. Now Caliche is going to see, as far as entryway upgrades and changes, Caliche is going to see the most. This is the elementary wing and this is the high school wing over here. So we're gonna be reconfiguring. I don't know if anyone's been to Caliche, but you come through these doors and the administrative offices are back over here right now. And nobody sees anybody until you make this movement back to these offices. So bringing a lot of that to the front to make that visual interaction possible, and then reconfiguring some office space over here. The elementary wing sees the biggest change. So right now, it's kind of similar. You've got a lot of the administrative offices back buried in the building, kind of moving that stuff to the front and reconfiguring these for classrooms and conference rooms and everything back here. So quite a bit of renovation and remodeling work going on at Caliche. So that brings us to here. Total estimated cost, this project, $21,357,000. There's a lot of money, right? That gets us close to that year 1 and 2 improvement from the master plan that David presented. Doesn't cover everything, but it gets us a lot of it. You can kind of see the breakdown. Hagen, I don't know, maybe we don't have that building in 5 years. Keep the percentages down there. Air is one of our newer buildings, but Campbell, the high school, and Caliche are seeing the biggest, portion of the prize anyway. So this number here then is 21 million. So that brings us kind of to the next phase here then. What are our opportunities now? 1, best grant funding. Building excellent schools today. Best grant. I'm sure all of you have heard Best Grant. Lots of our local school districts in Northeast Colorado are using Best Grants to build new schools. Man, I'd love to build a new school here. Love to. Can't afford it. And Best Grant's not going to fund that. We haven't heard anything about Best Grant money going away this year because I'm sure we're all aware of what's going on with the state budget. Next year, we don't know. You just don't know. So that's why we're really going after it hard this year. So best grant funding opportunity, the local bond funding. Okay, so the best grant doesn't pay for all 21 million, it pays for a certain portion of it, and that's based upon your school district size, right, David? Leah? Assessed value, okay. So we're at that 51%. Best grant will cover 51% of the cost. You've got to come up with the other 49%. That's where we're having the conversation tonight. That would have to be raised through a local bond. And then the next part then, total scope of work to include with the bond. So here's the best grant. So I don't want to confuse, this is where it can get a little bit confusing. So we have the best grant project, 21.4 million-ish, right? So too bad I can't write on this thing. So you got about the 10.4 million over here and about 10 million over here, right? So, or I think it's actually the other way around. It's about almost 11 million and 10.5 million or so. We've got to come up with this 49%. So the very minimum that we will be going to the voters for in the fall is 10.46 million. So this is where that 10.46 million, this is where we're talking about a ballot measure. 10.46 million. So that's just to cover the match for the best grant. Maybe there's other improvements. That's where we want to have the conversation. Maybe there's improvements to the theater rooms. That's a burgeoning program. We've got a great music, theater, and arts program here at the high school. Maybe we want to do some upgrades there. One of the things I like to see, I want to see video boards in our gyms. I want to see a graduation at the Sterling High School that I'm not looking up at a pull-down projector. I want to see a video board up there that we can actually see a slideshow from. Maybe that's something we want to add to it. So maybe we want to add to this 10.46 million. That's the minimum we have to go for. Maybe we want to add to it. That's what I want to get back from you guys tonight. Okay. Of that 10.46 million, the biggest question is, what's that going to do to my property taxes? Right? What's that going to do to my property taxes? This is a very basic estimation. of what we're looking at right now. If we don't do any other upgrades, we stick solely with the best project, everything that I just talked about, we're sticking with that, then we're gonna go after a $10.46 million bond. Annual residential tax impact based upon a $100,000 value. Monthly estimation, $4. You know, I think the average value of a house here in Sterling is like around 230,000 or something. I read that somewhere. You know, a lot of us have our property tax is escrowed, right? Our taxes are escrowed. On a $230,000 home, your monthly mortgage payment will go up about $10. That's what we're asking for from residential people, or residential owners on a $10.46 million bond. Commercial, a little bit more expensive. 180 annual, about $15 a month, based on a $100,000 value. Okay, you own a commercial property worth $500,000. Hey, double tap.
Yeah.
I can. Wow. $500,000 value, you're looking at about a $75 a month raise or an increase to your monthly payment. Okay, that's residential and commercial. We get down into agricultural because that's a big element out here as well. Irrigated property owners, sprinkler and flood, basically the same. Your tax impact per acre that you own, $1.37. God. Sorry. I get a little handsy apparently. So, sprinkler irrigated, flood irrigated, $1.37. Dry land farm, grazing and pasture land, not quite as much, about 30 cents for every acre you own and about 5 cents for every acre you own. Irrigated property, that's a substantial increase. So we want to lay that out there. You'll see this down here. Actual tax info will be available in September. By September?
That's when the state releases their assessed values.
Exactly. Okay, September is when we actually see the assessed values. And so these numbers can be, but it is before election time. These numbers will be, and actually we're going to have other meetings. Once we get through the community meetings about the BEST grant, there will be a bond campaign. And so there will be other meetings that we're having talking solely about the bond. Okay, and we'll have more numbers to refine then. But, and then these tax estimations were provided by RBC Capital Markets. RBC's been a partner of RE1 for a long time. And so they've been doing this a long time. So these numbers are pretty accurate. So, I guess before we get into the actual schedule of events, you know, coming back to here, $10.46 million bond, that's these numbers. Well, what if we did want to add the video boards? What if we did want to add playgrounds? Playgrounds is a big one. I think there's actually a committee going around right now here in RE1 that's looking to upgrade playgrounds, try to get funding from local sources. We can put them into the bond. We can't put them into the BEST grant, but we can put them into the bond. You know, maybe $2 to $3 million for playgrounds, video boards. I don't know. That's what we want to hear from you guys. You might look at me and go, that's crazy. No, let's just stick with what we got. Let's stick with the minimum. Let's go there. Great. Let's do that. But this is what we want to hear from you guys tonight. So ideas, you know, other places we can go, you know, let us know. So then that kind of takes us into the schedule. And I'll let David kind of talk to this a little bit as far as funding and construction.
Sure, I love hearing about all this from Joel. I know everyone's so excited. You just want to know when does our new school open? When do we get this stuff? So through this BEST grant application, we also have to say how we're going to do this, how long it's going to take. If the state gives us funding, which will be announced May 15th, 16th. They announced who got the funding for this year. So this whole process we've been going through since September has all been leading up to trying to get that grant. We'll find out if we're notified in the middle of May. What we had as a schedule into that project said, okay, if we get funded and then we can have a bond campaign and pass the bond in November, we'll start right into design, we'll get the project permitted, and we'll focus on getting construction going. The focus of construction is to build as much as you can during the summer so that you're not disrupting the students during the school year. So all that work that was shown was a little more work than can be done in one summer. So there's a little bit of some of the site stuff happens before school gets out. Some of the projects would get finished after school starts in the year, but trying to phase this work so you're disrupting the least. That's the goal. Find a summer when we can do the work. So then everything backs up from there to say, we got to start a design process to get that going right around the time of the election, maybe even a little bit before the election happens, is to start that design process going. What that means, backing up a little bit further, is that's this summer. So this summer, the school will need to choose a designer and a build partner to do this project with them. And then backing up to today is when it's wise to start a bond promotion effort. So that's why we're having these meetings today, to get this information out, get the information back from what should be included in this bond so that can be developed by around July, having a very definite plan as to what all of the scope will be for the project so that you can move forward from there. So the idea, if everything goes right funding-wise with the grant, funding-wise with a bond, you could potentially have these projects completed by October of 26.
So basically, yes, we concentrate everything on health, safety, and security. That is where the bond and the best grant promotion is at right now. I do want to give Whitney a little bit of time right now. And Mark, I know she would like to stand up and talk a little bit. I think she even brought some students here tonight. How important it is that we address kind of some of the things going on inside the ag shop. So I'm going to give the mic to you for just a minute, Whitney.
Thank you, Mr. McCracken. I appreciate the opportunity to come and to speak with you all. I also really just want to take a second to say thank you to those who have been working behind the scenes on all of this information. This is a lot of work, so I truly appreciate Neenan for all of their efforts and for those who are serving on committees and the school board and every person who's played a role in this process. I truly appreciate that, and I appreciate you all for showing up today. This is really important to me, obviously. So thank you for taking the time out of your evening to be here with us. I'm sure this master plan, you can go through and read exactly how the agricultural education department would be impacted through this BEST grant. But I just want to touch on a few areas that are important to me and my students and our daily success within the ag shop. As Mr. McCracken had mentioned, the agricultural education program has grown significantly over the past few years, and I've been blessed to work with some really amazing students, and we've experienced some tremendous growth. And along with that growth, we've been able to recognize some of the areas that need improvement, is really the best way to put it. I have class sizes that are overwhelming, and we've been fortunate this year to be able to really tool up our students and have the opportunity to get more welders and get those tools to equip our students to learn the skills that they need to be successful after high school. However, in the process of tooling up and preparing our students to be successful throughout that process, we've noticed a lot of things that prevent us from doing that. One thing in particular is our electrical system. The electrical system in the shop is extremely outdated and incredibly frustrating. My students are going to share with you a little bit about their experiences in a second of how that has impacted their abilities in the shop, but that's probably the main area of focus that is incredibly frustrating for both myself and Mr. Kokash, as well as our students. Another issue that we feel is crucial to update is our ventilation system. As a result of all of these new welders and all this new equipment that we've been able to purchase and utilize, we've really noticed that the ventilation system is not up to code. We're not able to pull those toxic fumes away from the students when they're welding without opening the big shop door. And yes, it's nice being able to let sunlight and fresh air in, but that also prevents some safety concerns. And as you guys have learned, safety is a huge issue, and that's one of the main focuses of the BEST grant. So having the opportunity to have safe ventilation without opening shop doors is going to be crucial. Heating and cooling, that's just kind of a given if you work at Sterling or in the RE1 district. And then obviously some equipment upgrades, those are crucial as well. But I want to take an opportunity now to share or to invite some special guests up to share with you some of their experiences. I get to live this every day, and I love my job and I love everything that I get to do. But there are some things that make my job a lot harder when it shouldn't be. And I think we as a community have an opportunity to create some opportunities for our students to best prepare them for life after high school. I think my job is to teach employable skills, and the best way to do that was with the best equipment possible. So I want to take the time now to invite Mr. Kokash, who has served as my shop assistant for the spring semester and who has also served as an agricultural education teacher and served in a lot of different capacities in the agricultural industry. I want to invite him to come up and share some of his experiences throughout this semester, as well as my students Dakota Fickus and Soli Fernandez, because those two have spent a lot of time in the shop over the past few years, and they understand more than most what is needed. So will you guys please join me up here?
Please.
All right, hello. I'd first like to thank you all for letting us share our experiences within the Sterling High School Agriculture Education Program. I'm Dakota Fickus. I'm a junior right now, and I've been heavily involved in a bunch of shop activities and pretty much everything ag, and it's been great, but busy.
Hi, my name is Sullivan Fernandez, and I've also been in the shop for 3 years, yeah, because I'm a junior. I've also taken as many shop classes as I can, so I probably do that most.
I'm Mark Kokash. I get to be an high school agriculture instructor again after 30 years of being gone as a high school agriculture instructor. But I have been a teacher trainer, and I've worked at NJC in agriculture education, and I worked out in business and industry with Morgan County Quality Water District, and really worked with a lot of industry people. And it's so refreshing to be able to come back to a program that is growing and is meeting the needs of students, and you recognize the importance of career and technical education. Kids today just want to get dirty. They want to work in the shop. They want to learn the skills necessary to be employable. And I think all of you would recognize that that is one of the biggest issues and one of the biggest areas we need to look at in part of our education system is to get kids trainable, trained, and employable beyond high school, whether it's going on to a community college or university or going right to work. I think it's our job to make sure that they have good employable skills, and career and technical education is so vital to the lifeblood of this community. So I think along with agriculture, we also are training for the trades. And I think with this BEST grant, the opportunity to do this right is now. And Whitney has proven just how important it is to have a program like this, because she is looking at huge numbers of students just wanting to be part of something like this and be ready to go to work. So, okay.
All right, first I'd like to start off with what she said, ventilation. Our ventilation in our shop is horrible. We do have some fans that do something, but even with those on, it just isn't good. Like, you can smell it, you know it's not good. So we have to open the shop door, like she said, not safe, because it's a big door for people to come in. Climate control, when it's hot out, there is no air movement in there, and it is miserable. And then on top of that, you're welding. That's already not fun in normal temperatures. Then you add a couple degrees under that, that is not fun. So that, and in the winter, it's pretty good, but it's still a little chilly. Next, I have lighting. Our lighting in our shop is not good. Our lights, you can't, like, if it's, hold on. With the lighting in there right now, it is not good enough to do what you need to do. The lights in there do not light up the whole shop. If there's any shadows at all or anything above you, you can't see. There are like corners in the shop that it's just so dark. You have to get so close to work on stuff that it's kind of unsafe because you can't see all the dangers and that stuff. Power, like she said. Right now, before we had all the welders, it was fine. We didn't have enough welders for it to be a problem, but now that we have updated welders, two of us, is that
Oh,
your
yeah,
max?
2 on the 110 volt.
So right now, we have 8 welders, more than that. We have a lot of welders, but we get 2 people welding at the same time and the breakers kick off. You can't learn anything with that, and it is extremely frustrating because then you just look at each other, because then you have to walk across the shop, click the breaker, and then get back to weld for 5 more minutes, and it kicks again. So that is a big frustration. It's not just with welders, it's with everything. We can't even cook pancakes. That's ridiculous. Like, I should at least be able to cook a couple pancakes without blowing like breakers, but,
Better put some context to that.
We don't just cook pancakes for fun.
well, we had our teacher breakfast, as some of you probably went to, and we had like 3 griddles in our shop. 4, 5,
There's like
I don't know. Quite a few griddles, but we couldn't even keep that, and especially in the classroom. That classroom did not keep up as well, and it was a big old mess, which shouldn't have been. Shop freshened up. I don't know how many of you have been in there, but the walls are disgusting and not right colored. It needs really pressure washed and deep cleaned, and then a new fresh coat of paint. So then we can get that reflection for the light, so then they'll again fix our lighting issue. Just a lot of cleaning and renovation in total and making sure everything is right. Updated equipment, we have a lot of out-of-date equipment, like that either has broken shields or safety precautions, or they're just old, they don't have them. So that is an issue. One of the main things of that is our hydraulic press, which doesn't even work anymore. And our plasma cam program, which we have tried to get it to work, and we've gotten some progress, but those are 15-ish years old. And the programs are just so outdated on those that we can't, it doesn't work. So that, my last main thing is our paint booth removal / relocate plasma cam. We have a paint booth in there that's been in there as long as I know, and it does not work. It's just been there, takes up a bunch of space. So I think we're proposing to remove that entirely and then put our plasma cans in there, because in that paint booth room, there's very good ventilation, and those plasma cans produce a lot of toxic gases, and moving those would make that a lot safer, and we just get rid of that, which we don't need. As of 4 years ago, we had 48 people in ag classes. Today is 123. So our shop, is not made for 123 people. It's not really safe in there because, I mean, we try our best to divide and make sure everyone's doing it how they're supposed to, but it's just hard because there's not enough room, and it just, yeah, what? Yeah. Dang, yeah. For actual safety features. Oh, our iWatch station also, I mean, it works, but they're also old and don't get, I don't know if you have to test those or if you're supposed to, but they work, but they're a little rickety, and then the drainage system in the shop is also lacking. Whenever you do turn the iWatch station on, there's a big puddle right there because none of the drainage works in the shop. And that's all I have.
That's plenty, dude.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for your input. I just want to also take an opportunity to invite you down to the Ag Shop if that's something that you were wanting to come see. We would love to have you. There are some amazing things that happen down there. I am not discounting any of the success that we've had and any of the opportunities that we've been able to provide for students in the Ag Shop. I just think there's some opportunities for growth that we can take advantage of. But if you are interested in anything that we have talked about or any of the issues, we would love to show you. You're welcome to come down after this meeting. We can walk through and you can take a look through the Ag Shop if that's something that interests you. But again, I just want to reiterate, thank you for the opportunity to speak and thank you for investing in the youth of Sterling and RA1 and investing in our future because these students are amazing and they deserve the best. So thank you for all of the time and effort that you were putting into those. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any, or if you do not have any or you want to talk to me privately, I'm more than welcome to walk you through the shop or meet you there later.
Okay, yes, thank you, Whitney. Our FFA program, I see our FBLA teachers here too. You just got back from state
I
congress
did,
today
yeah.
and you are here tonight.
Yeah.
Good for you. Thank you. We've got great programs at the high school. Student opportunities is something that is a big deal to me. Giving kids the opportunity to esports, basketball, theater, I don't care what it is. Give them something to hang on to, right? I know my kids, one of them anyway. I don't think he would have done very well in high school if he didn't have sports to hang on to keep him eligible, right? So that extracurricular part of it is such a huge component. And so, yeah, we're very thankful to have our FBLA, FFA programs, our theater program, our music program, and all of our athletic programs. So, yeah, we're very, very lucky to have them here. So